भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतकृष्णमूर्ते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिधि नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी विशेषेश्वर जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So we continue our reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. And today we'll discuss the verse number 18. So let us chant the shloka. Antavanta ime deha
Antavanta ime deha
nityasyokta sharirina
nityasyokta saririnaha
anashino aprameyasya
no prameyasya
tasmadyuddhasva bharata.
tasmat yudyasva bharata.
Antavanta ime deha
Antavanta ime deha
nityasyokta sharirinaha
nityasyokta saririnaha
anashino aprameyasya
anasino prameyasya
tasmadyuddhasva bharata.
tasmat yudyasva bharata.
Please stand.
Antavanta ime deha nityasukta sharirina anashino te prameyasya tasmadhyuthasva bharata.
Antavante ime deha nityasyokta saririnih anasino prameyasya tasmadyudyasva bharata.
So let's see the translation and purport. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharat. Purport. The material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately or it may do so after 100 years. It is question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is minute that it cannot be. It's so minute that be. It cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So, from both viewpoint of, there is no cause of lamentation because the living entity or he as he is cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved from for any length of time or permanently protected. The minute particle of the whole spirit acquires this material body according to his work, and therefore observance of religious principles should be utilized. In the Vedanta Sutra, the living entity is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the supreme light. As sunlight maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains the material body, this material body. As soon as the spirit soul is out of the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is spirit soul which maintains the body, this body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and not sacrifice the cause of religion for material bodily consideration. Antavantasya deha nityasukta shrirah anasino aprameyasya tasmad vidyasya bharata. So here Krishna is continuing his instructions to Arjuna, and he's describing um, what is eternal and what is perishable, or what is not eternal, or what is temporary. So, like last 2 3 verses, he is clearly mentioning that this body is perishable, or this body will finish. It's just time, as Prabhupada mentions that it's going to finish. Like our everybody's body is going to finish, and we don't know when. It can be any time, or it can be a definite time, but it will be finished. And Nityo Sokta Sharirina, and one who lives in the Sharira, in the body, that the soul is Anashino, is indestructible, cannot be finished. Yesterday shloka is mentioned in the purport, there is mention of the size of the soul, right? Avinashi tu tadvidiye. So, Keshagra Shatabhagasya Shatam Chaha Sadrushat Maka. So, 1/10,000 of the upper portion of the hair is the size of the soul, right? It's mentioned in the Upanishads. So, this size is very minute, we cannot even imagine also. And what to say about this size, so minute, it cannot be killed by anyone, any weapon, not material, not divine also, right? Because it's a celestial weapons also cannot kill, because this is a spiritual spark. So it's coming from spiritual world. So nothing material can finish it or um, disrupt it. So this is mentioned by aprameyasya, is immeasurable. Right? So the size mentioned 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair is we don't know, right, exactly how much is the size of the tip of the hair. It is relative. When we say tip of the hair, it is relative which tip, from where it has to be taken, and we have to go further into 1/10,000 of that size. So it's we cannot also imagine this size. So forget about measuring this. And so the purpose of this aprameyasya is uh, to uh, define or to show that the size is so minute or so small, and it cannot be killed if we cannot see it, if we cannot measure it. We don't have any senses to experience it or see it. It cannot be finished by any weapon. And yesterday we were saying, like as Prabhupada mentions in the purport also today, that the soul, by its energy of consciousness, pervades all body. And it is so minute that it cannot be covered by any of the material element, earth, water, fire, air, ether. They cannot cover it, because the soul, by its consciousness, is covering the entire body. So the soul will always remain anachino, cannot be finished. So the Krishna is telling, like Arjuna, what you are talking about, like Bhishma and Drona, even if their bodies, you don't fight now as your choose, that I don't want to fight, okay, but anyway, their body cannot be maintained. Antavanta ime deha. This body, their body is going to finish. So Bhishma Dev had a wound, right? He can choose his own death, right? But he's going to die. He has to choose. And in the war, we saw ultimately he chose the time uh, of his death. So their body is going to finish today or tomorrow, but sometime it's going to finish. But even if it finishes naturally, the soul within the body will remain, and it will go into another body. So here Arjuna, Krishna is again stressing the point of soul's eternity, and he's asking Arjuna to focus on the thing that is not temporary, that is permanent. And if his dharma as a kshatriya to fight, so to he's not executing his dharma for the temporary thing, that is the body. That is wrong, because he has to take to the religious principles based on because when we follow the religious principle, accordingly we get the next body. So if Arjuna cannot or don't do his dharma, he is not following his religious principle. Right? So, and that too for a temporary body. So, Krishna is stressing this point that you focus on the eternal thing, and that is the soul within the body. So, in our like yesterday, we were discussing that we can experience the consciousness, or we can uh, feel, or we can see that if we are alive, uh, if we are breathing, that means the air movements is going on. If we can see, that means air. We can hear, that means air movements are going on, and these are all pervaded, or these all are driven by the soul's energy. So we can feel, we can see that we are alive means that means the consciousness is there, the soul is there. So if in all our regular practices of life, if we can somehow uh, remember our true identity, then because Krishna is also asking Arjuna to be tolerant to heat and cold, happiness and misery, that we can do only when we are conscious of our real identity. If we think this body as ourself, then it is very difficult to tolerate because we are going to react. And when we see that heat and cold, happiness, distress, and everything, whatever happening is a sense perception. We feel the emotions in the body. But if we can maintain our observance or consciousness that I'm not this body or I'm not this feelings or emotions that are rising, I am entity away from, separate from this, then we can actually tolerate several things in our life. But when we are not in that consciousness and we identify with the body, then what will happen? The what happened to Arjuna? And we become overwhelmed, we become angry, we become frustrated, we become we start shaking by anger. So these symptoms that were described by Arjuna, we can experience if we are in ignorance of the real identity. So even if we get angry at certain point, if we can remember who am I or what we are learning, what Krishna is telling Arjuna, then it helps us to tolerate the odds in our life, and that gives the real peace when we don't get disturbed by the externals. So these teachings are the basics of very basics of the spiritual life, and that's why when Krishna is telling Arjuna of these things first, that you are not body and your soul and focus on it, so means from there our actually the spiritual path or spiritual practice starts. So we also have to go with the basics. We don't have to do very big things. If we can execute the basics rigidly and sincerely, then our regular life and our spiritual life can go together hand in hand, and um, we can be peaceful and happy. And if we are happy, then people will see that this person is happy, which motivates the people surrounding us. So it's these teachings can be very practically applied in our day-to-day life anytime. So try to take in the day, like say from today till tomorrow, just observe how the emotions flow. And if we can remember what Krishna is trying to teach Arjuna, that should help everyone, including me, to cope up with the odds of this life. And now Krishna will further describe about the soul. Now he has described the size. So based on the size, we can imagine the different qualities that Krishna will be telling to Arjuna, that we will see from tomorrow. Hare Krishna. So any points or any question or any points that we should discuss further, please share. We have 3-4 minutes.
I have different point that we see the people who are practicing meditation and yoga. So they generally focus inside on this energy of the soul. So they don't much focus on the super soul which is inside in our heart. But they also feel happiness, they also feel peaceful. So what's the difference between their happiness and the practitioner who are practicing bhakti yoga?
So first is soul, then super soul. Right? It's not compulsory that the meditation people focus on soul. They focus on breathing. They focus on candle. It's not compulsory that they focus on soul always. Some may, some not. But that state when you really meditate and you focus and the um, thoughts that are going in our mind continuously, a state when we don't react to the thoughts of the mind. At certain points, the thoughts starts reducing, and when the thoughts are less, and we are not reacting to the thoughts, we are just observing. At that point, we feel opening, or how we say, we find a space within ourselves. That space gives us a feeling of peace because we are not reacting. And when we are not reacting, we are not using our mind. It's just the things are coming and going. When you don't get entangled in those things, then most of your energy that is wasted in reacting to each and every thought, when it is saved, that energy itself gives us a feeling of refreshing feeling or feeling of peace from that refreshing we get. So some yogis, Ashtanga yogi, and they focus on soul. Right? So some only finish at the level of soul. But even if you can realize the soul, that is very high level of meditation where you get your identification. And at that stage, it's Brahmavita stage, right? When you understand your identity. So at this stage, you don't get disturbed by the miseries of the world, right? The three modes, they don't drive you. And when they don't drive you, you are in a constant state of happiness or peacefulness. That gives you uh, peace or strength or energy. And devotees, after you realize your own identity, then you try to realize your identity with the super soul or the supreme. And the happiness that the devotees have is from the relationship with the supreme, because the relationships give you bliss, not happiness. Happiness is and bliss, there is a difference. Bliss comes from Atma directly because you have realized Atma, and then you are keeping your relationships with the super soul, which is a spiritual relationship. So that is based on the Yaripuri, giving reciprocation. So that gives the bliss, which includes happiness. So this is the difference actually of the experience that a devotee or a meditation practitioner gets. Okay. Okay, if no other point, we will finish today. And tomorrow we will go more deeper into the soul and its eternity and its other qualities, as Krishna explains to Arjuna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining and giving this opportunity to read and share and discuss about Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare